Today we will learn about the electricity and magnetism, basic concepts of electricity and magnetism. Electric charge, what is static electric charge, and what are the laws governed to use electricity and magnetism. Static electricity is a kind of electricity in which charges are static and they reside at one place and they cannot move. If the charges are in rest, we say that this is a kind of static electricity. When we rub two materials, charges are removed at the surface of the material and cannot move on from one material to another. These are static type of electric charges. Two kind of charges, positive, negative charges. Properties of charges: like charges repel each other and unlike charges attract each other, and charges can move but charge is conserved. Total charge in the universe or in a system remains conserved. Law of conservation of charge: the net amount of electric charge produced in any process is zero. Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law quantifies the magnitude of the electrostatic force. If there are two charges, they apply force to one another, and this law gives information what is how Coulomb law works. Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law quantifies the magnitude of the electrostatic force. Coulomb's law gives the force in newtons between charges Q1 and Q2. Consider two charges Q1 and Q2 are at a distance R, we say R12 meters between charges. This is the distance, and K is a constant, 9 to 10 raised to power 9 Newton meters square per coulomb. So according to Coulomb's law relationship, force is directly proportional to the product of the two charges and inversely proportional to the distance between them, R12. The square of the distance. The force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance and directly proportional to the product of the charges. K is the constant. Force is a vector quantity. The equation on the previous slide gives the magnitude of the force. Force in Newton's X per Newton's law is equal to ma, but at Coulomb's law, it is K Q1 Q2 over R square. If the charges are opposite in sign, the force is attractive. If the charges are the same in sign, the force becomes repulsive force. Also, the constant K is equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught. The value of the permittivity of free space eta 0 will be equal to 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 C second per Newton meter square. I could write Coulomb's law like this, that Coulomb's law is a force 1, 2, force of one charge on the other is equal to K Q1 Q2 over R square, R1 2 square. Attractive for unlike, repulsive for like charges. The equation is valid for point charges if the charged objects are spherical and the charge is uniformly distributed. R12 is the distance between the centers of the spheres. You can see in this figure that this is a point charge plus positive and this is a negative charge, point charge. The distance between R12 is shown by the vector distance R1. If more than one charge is involved, the net force is the vector sum of all forces superposition. For objects with complex shapes, you must add up all the forces acting on each separate charges, turns into calculus. So there are three positive charges, three negative charges. We can calculate the force or amount of force by Coulomb law. We would have agreed that in the formula for F, the symbols Q1, Q2 stands for magnitude of the charges. In that case, the absolute value sign would be unnecessary. However, in later equations, the sign of the charge will be important. So we really need to keep the magnitude part. Our diagrams show both the magnitudes and Q1, Q2. Your starting equation will be the Coulomb's law equation. F12 is equal to K, Q1, Q2 magnitude. These signs are used for magnitudes over R12 square, which gives you the magnitude F12 and tells you that you need to figure out the direction separately. We can solve problems involving Coulomb law in vectorial form. You may wish to review vectors. Calculate the net electrostatic force on charge Q3 due to charges Q1, Q2. See this figure. Q3 charge is here, Q1 charge is here, and Q2 charge is at the center. So we draw x-axis from Q2 to Q1 and draw y-axis from Q2 to Q3. And this vector is 52 centimeter and this force is acting 30 centimeter. What will be the hypotenuse of this triangle? So this will result out 60 centimeter. Step 0, think this is a Coulomb law problem. All we have to work with so far. We only want the forces on Q3. Do not worry, don't worry about the other forces. Forces are additive, so we can calculate F32 and F31 and add the two. If we do our vector addition using components, we must resolve our forces into their x and y components. So if we resolve x and y component, so the sum of x and y component will be equal to the diagonal of the triangle. Draw a representative sketch and draw and label the quantities. Draw x-axis showing origins and directions. So all we have done. Draw and label forces Q3. Draw components of forces which are not along axis. So if we consider F31 is the force that point 3 act on Q1. The point 3 exert a force on point Q1. So this is F31. F32 is the force that 3 point exerts on the point Q2. So like this we can name forces, and if we here see, this can become force Q1 to Q2. Like this we name forces and we then draw this triangle and resolve the forces. F12 is the total force due to these two product of charges Q1, Q2 over R12 square. So this is by Coulomb law, this is the force. Complaining, do I have to put in the absolute value signs? because these absolute value signs are drawn around Q1, Q2. So absolute means the charges may be negative and may be positive. We don't worry about this. Yes, unless you like losing points. Step 3. Replace generic quantities by specific. Here we have replaced the generic quantities to specific quantities. F32, this is a force exerted by point 3 on point 2, it will be equal to K Q3 Q2, the magnitude of this product divided by R32 scale. R32 is the distance between 3 point and 2 point. This is repulsive because these forces are, the point charges are positive. If the same charges are acting and taking part in this equation, the force will be repulsive. And if this is positive charge, this is negative charge, this force will be attractive. So the force 32 will be equal to K Q3 Q2 magnitude divided by R32 square. So this force will be attractive. And if we take a resultant force, the net force from the diagram will be 0. F32 on x-axis is 0. And can you put numbers in this point? Okay, for this problem, you would get E32y is equal to 33 Newton and F32x is 0 Newton. So along x-axis, the force is acting, is the magnitude of the force is 0, but along y-axis, the force is 330 Newton. This force F31 is equal to K231, 23Q1 over R312 square. This force will be attractive. So these point charges show an attractive force. F31 along the x-axis will be equal to plus K Q3Q1 magnitude over 32 square cos theta. Plus sign comes from diagram. The theta is equal to 30 degree. F31 along y-axis will be equal to minus K Q3 Q1 magnitude divided by R31 square sine theta, because the sign is negative due to repulsion. Can you put numbers in this at this point? Okay, for this problem, you would get F31x is equal to plus 120 Newton and F31y is equal to minus 70 Newton. In step 3, complete the math for these 3 points. The net force is the vector sum of all the forces on Q3. So this is the resultant force F3, or the resultant of F31, F32 is F3. So we can calculate F3x will be equal to F31x along x-axis plus F32 along x-axis. The S component of this force and the S component of due to the other point charge. The total S component becomes 120 and the Y component of this force will come out to be equal to minus 70 Newton plus 330 Newton is equal to 260 Newton. You know how to calculate the magnitude F3 and the angle between F3 and the x-axis. If not, then try to understand by vector sum. I did a simple Coulomb's law calculation using 3-point charges. How do you apply Coulomb's law to objects that contain distribution of charges? You will use another tool to do this. We can make, we can draw vector diagrams. Now we start with the electric field. Electric field due to point charge, motion of a charge particle in a uniform electric field, the electric field due to collection of point charges, the electric field due to a continuous line of charge, Coulomb's law. Again, we revise Coulomb's law, quantifies the interaction between charge particles. F12 is equal to 1 over 4 by epsilon naught Q1 Q2 and Q divided by the distance between them R12 square. Coulomb's law was discovered through decades of experiment. By itself, it is just useful. It is part of something bigger. Gravitational field. In the gravitational field around our Earth, we also have a similar formula for the gravitational force Fg. Fg is equal to G m1 m2 over r12 square, and this is attractive force. This equation tells us that if there are two masses in the universe or in a system and have a distance r12, the gravitational force will be equal to G m1 m2 over r12 square. We can calculate the gravitational force between Earth and Moon, and also Earth and Sun, and also some other stellar bodies. Gr is equal to Fg over m. Units of G are actually Newton per kilogram. This is the acceleration due to gravity force over m, because F is equal to ma. Here a is the gravitational acceleration, g that depends on the r, the distance from the local gravitational field. On Earth, it is 9.8 Newton per kilogram, directed towards the center of the Earth. What we call g is equal to 9.8 meter per second square is the magnitude of the gravitational field. This gravitational field has a similarity with the Coulomb's law. The electric field, Coulomb's law, demonstrated in 1785, shows that charges exert forces on each other over great distances. How does a charge particle know another one is there? Action at a distance viewpoint. Electric, magnetic, and gravitational forces, results of a direct and instantaneous interaction between particles. So, relativity theory shows why this viewpoint is wrong. Faraday developed the correct explanation. Charged isolated conductors. In a charged isolated conductor, all the charge moves to the surface. The electric field E inside a conductor must be zero, otherwise a current would be set up. The charges do not necessarily distribute themselves uniformly. They distribute themselves to the net force on each other is zero. This means the surface charge density varies over a non-spherical conductor. On a conducting surface, the electric intensity E is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught. Sigma is the surface charge density. If there were a cavity in the isolated conductor, no charges would be on the surface of the cavity. They would stay on the surface of the conductor. This is the cross section of a conductor. You can see that If there is a cavity inside the conductor, there will be no charge distribution. Also, inside the conductor, there is no charges, only at the surface of the conductor there are charges. So if there is a charge distribution exists, negative type inside the conductor, this is the case C. This charge on solid conductor resides on a surface. Charge in cavity makes it equal but opposite charges inside on inner surface of the conductor. If there is cavity, an equal amount of charges will be induced. Properties of a conductor in electrostatic equilibrium. The electric intensity E field is zero everywhere inside the conductor. If an isolated conductor carries a charge, the charge resides on its surface. The electric field just outside a charged conductor is perpendicular to the surface and has the magnitude given above. On an irregularly shaped conductor, the surface charge density is greatest at locations where the radius of the curvature of the surface is smallest. Charges on conductor are shown in this figure A, B, C, D. Here in figure A, electric field intensity within the conductor is zero, and outside of the conductor there are charges. So QC resides entirely on the surface of the conductor. The situation is electrostatic, so electric intensity will be zero. If there are charges, arbitrary Gaussian surface, and this is a cavity inside the conductor, charges reside on the surface of the conductor. The same conductor with an internal cavity is shown, in which electric intensity is zero at all points within the conductor. The electric field at all points on the Gaussian surface must be zero. The case C, an isolated charge Q placed in the cavity. This is the case when isolated charge Q is placed inside the cavity, and if it is placed inside the cavity, what will be the electric intensity? Electric intensity will be zero at all points on the Gaussian surface. The surface of the cavity must have a total charge minus Q. This is minus Q, this is positive Q. So this is the situation. Electric field within a conductor is zero. In all these three cases, this is the case one, electric intensity is zero, electric intensity is zero, even though there is a cavity, also, and there is also a charge Q placed inside the cavity, but this charge will be zero, because the opposite charge will be induced outside the boundary, and the sum will be zero. And here the sum is only QC. So these figures show that electric field intensity within the conductor will be. Experimental testing of the Gauss's law. Field pushes electron towards left side, and field pushes of the positive charge on the right side. Electric field intensity is coming out, electric field intensity is going into the negative side. The positive charges produce electric flux outside, and the negative charges produce flux inside. The field pushes electrons towards the left side, and field net positive charge remains on the right side. So field perpendicular to conductor surface. Here the real situation is shown, in which two spheres are bounded. The electric lines are shown and electric streaks are produced. on the surface of the sphere. So only the surface is contributing for the charges. This is the Van de Graaff generator shown towards right. This is the power supply, and if we rub this surface with some material, the electric charge will be induced on the surface. So it will show that there are charges on the surface of the electric potential energy. Concepts of work, potential energy, and conservation of energy. We will follow this topic in the next slides.